After 7 years of marriage, my relationship with my husband has always been good. But when we were preparing to have a child, I overheard his phone call with his brother. The little assistant is about to give birth, and you still haven't told your wife. If your mom forcibly brings the child back, the situation will be out of control. It's okay, she can't leave me, she'll agree. But he seems to have forgotten that when we first got married, we had an agreement: if either of us changes heart, we should decisively let go and divorce, never to fall into the quagmire of emotional entanglements. Therefore, we each gave the other a signed divorce agreement. I took out that yellowed divorce agreement and signed my name below his handwriting. I looked at the words on the agreement: the two parties have incompatible personalities, broken feelings, and cannot live together. These words defined my 7-year marriage, like sharp blades piercing through the illusion of sweetness, revealing nothing but deception and lies. After putting away the agreement, I stared fixedly at the glass planet lamp he had made by hand on the ceiling, stubbornly refusing to let tears fall. Vivian, you love the starry sky the most, you love freedom the most. For me and the company, you have given up a lot. From now on, for every birthday and anniversary, I will give you a planet lamp. I numbly turned on the lamp, and the room was filled with brilliant starlight, but the person who once picked stars for me had deceived me. The more I looked, the more aggrieved I felt. I picked up the air conditioner remote control and smashed it at the largest one. With a loud crash, the stars shattered all over the floor. The glass shards splashed, cutting my instep, and blood gushed out. Jason heard the sound and hurriedly ran from the study. Upon opening the door and seeing the floor full of fragments, he quickly told me to stay put and carried me to the bed. Vivian, how are you? Does it hurt? Wait for me, I'll get the medicine. The sound of leather shoes hurriedly going in and out. When he applied medicine for me, his eyes were slightly red, almost crying with distress. After applying the medicine, Jason called the housekeeper to clean the room and carried me to the guest room. Tonight, sleep in the guest room first. Tomorrow, after the housekeeper cleans up all the glass fragments in the master bedroom, we can move back. Throughout the process, I didn't react much, just my eyes were slightly red, and tears welled up. He looked at me with distress. Were you scared? It's all my fault, I should have hung the planet lamp more securely. Fortunately, you're okay. He hugged me tightly, still shaken. I suddenly asked him, this star is broken, will you give me another one? He smiled brightly, of course. Even if you want the stars in the sky, I would bankrupt myself to buy them for you. But it's not safe to keep the star lamp in the master bedroom. How about I clean up the empty room on the second floor specifically for the star lamp and other gifts? But wasn't that room intended for the baby's room? Don't you plan to have children anymore? I looked up at him, my expression somewhat subtle. Jason reached out to wipe away the tears from the corner of my eye. My wife, you've been working too hard on preparing for pregnancy lately. I don't want you to be under too much pressure. The baby is not as important as you, and besides, I can't bear to see you in pain. At worst, we can adopt. Is it that you can't bear to see me give birth, or that you don't want my child? I stared into his eyes, trying to detect any guilt, but I couldn't see any. Honey, what's wrong? Don't you like the idea of adoption? I brought up his mother's pressure to have children as an excuse. But he confidently said, I'll handle my mother's pressure, with your husband here, there's nothing to fear. Now that I think about it, my mother-in-law, who has been urging us to have children for years, hasn't called to pester us for several months. Does she also know? I perfunctorily said, it's too early, let's talk about it later, and burrowed into the blankets. As soon as I closed my eyes, my mind was like a tangled mess, unable to find a way out. When I opened my eyes, Jason was intently looking at his phone, the corners of his mouth inadvertently curling up. The next second, a call came in, and he abruptly got out of bed and went to the bathroom. Of course, I miss you too. Don't change out of that outfit, I'll come over after Vivian falls asleep. The eagerness in his voice clearly reached my ears, just like how he used to be with me, and tears involuntarily welled up in my eyes. The sound of flushing came from the bathroom, and I quickly closed my eyes, crystalline tears streaming down my cheeks. Jason walked to the bedside and wiped away my tears. "It seems you were still scared. Tomorrow, I'll ask the housekeeper to make you some nourishing food." I pretended to be asleep and didn't respond. He muttered to himself, "Honey, there's an urgent matter at the company, I need to go. You sleep first." I don't know if he was lying to me or to himself. He kissed my forehead, "Good night, honey," and then turned to leave. I got out of bed, dressed, and followed him. He drove very fast, covering the 20-kilometer distance in less than 15 minutes. By the time I found his car parked outside a villa, he was nowhere to be seen. I was about to leave when I heard ambiguous conversations between him and a woman at the villa's entrance. Their voices were intermittent, but I clearly heard unusual sounds. Her coquettish voice came through, "Jason, listen to me, Mom came over today." Jason suddenly sobered up, stopped his actions, and started to tidy his clothes. "Mom? Who's Mom?" While I was still puzzled, I heard my mother-in-law's voice, "Jason's mother, what are you fooling around with? My daughter-in-law is still pregnant." The string in my mind snapped completely. Daughter-in-law? When did she get another daughter-in-law? So everyone knew this woman was pregnant with his child, and I was the only one kept in the dark. They walked into the villa together, their footsteps fading away. Through the railing, I looked at the second floor. When the room light turned on, two figures were clearly reflected in my eyes. I stood outside the villa for a long time until the lights went out, before I came back to my senses. It started to rain lightly, and my vision blurred, unsure if it was rain or tears. I don't know how I walked back to the car and drove home. I only remember that when I returned to the master bedroom, my eyes were blurry with tears, but I bit my lip hard, not letting out any sobs of pain. I seemed to step on something, but I didn't care. Lying on the bed, smelling Jason's scent on the sheets, I closed my eyes, and my mind was filled with memories of the past 7 years with Jason. We fell in love at first sight at a party and were exceptionally compatible. He would keep my needs in mind, always caring for and pampering me. He encouraged me to do what I wanted, respected my thoughts, and understood my situation. I supported all his decisions just like he did. We got married with both sets of parents as witnesses. Later, when my parents passed away in a car accident, he stayed by my side, helping me through that dark time. Even when he was busiest with his startup, he would send me messages and buy gifts. In the 5th year of marriage, his business succeeded, and his love for me didn't change at all. Not only did he give me handmade gifts on every anniversary, but he also sent 3 blessings on holidays, including for my parents. I shared his kindness to me online, and unknowingly attracted a large number of fans. Jason would hug me from behind, and we would read the fans' well wishes one by one. He proudly said, "Look, honey, we've achieved everything they said." But in the next second, the scene changed. Jason threw me to the ground, holding a pregnant woman in his arms. "You don't even want to have a child for me, you don't love me at all. You don't deserve to stay in the Jiang family." I woke up from the dream, and in front of me was Jason's haggard face. He had heavy dark circles and stubble. Seeing me awake, he anxiously asked, "Honey, you're finally awake. How do you feel? Any better? You suddenly had a high fever last night and ran back to the master bedroom to sleep, and you also cut your foot." Upon hearing this, I moved my foot, and immediately frowned. The sole of my right foot hurt badly. He quickly stopped me. "Don't move your foot, I just applied medicine." He came over to check my temperature with his forehead, his eyes full of worry, still a bit warm. "I'm worried, let's go to the hospital for a checkup." He helped me dress, carried me to the car, and held my hand, trying to make me laugh along the way. At some moments, I almost thought yesterday was just a dream, but the pain in my foot constantly pulled me back to reality. At the hospital, Jason was still busy taking care of me, registering, getting forms, guiding me to the fever clinic for medication, and leading me to various departments for checkups. When it was inconvenient for me to walk, he would carry me. Doctors and nurses praised him as a good husband, and some even recognized us, asking for photos. Jason not only helped me tidy my appearance, gently smoothing my hair, but also carefully protected me from being bumped by others. Yet, such a person had gotten another woman pregnant. During the checkup, he suddenly stopped and looked into the distance, his arms loosening, causing me to fall to the ground. Caught off guard, I landed on my injured foot, crying out in pain, and the bandage turned red instantly. I frowned, biting my lip to endure the pain, and followed his gaze. Ahead, a woman was holding her belly, tearfully looking at Jason, leaning against the railing, swaying as if she might fall at any moment. I recognized her. It was Jason's former assistant, Lena. A year ago, she tried to seduce Jason at the company and made mistakes at work, so I fired her. I didn't expect them to have an affair behind my back, and she was about to give birth. When she saw me looking at her, she turned and left. Jason glanced at me, helped me to a nearby chair, and hesitated. "Honey, Lena is pregnant and it's inconvenient for her. Since we were colleagues, I'll go check on her. Wait for me, we'll go home together later." Without waiting for my response, he hurried away. "But Jason, we no longer have a home." After finishing the last checkup at the gynecology department, I limped back home. The first thing I did was to gather all the gifts he had given me and burn them in the yard. The housekeeper asked me puzzledly, "Madam, why are you throwing away perfectly good things?" I replied indifferently, "Outdated old things, they bother me." "Housekeeper, please help me take down all the star lamps from the master bedroom and pile them in the empty room on the second floor." While burning things in the yard, the fire was warm, gradually burning away my attachment to him. The postcards and love letters he once sent me all turned to ashes. All endings are ashes, whether it's emotions or life. I suddenly felt that leaving him wasn't such a big deal. Halfway through burning, my phone suddenly vibrated with private messages from Lena, full of texts and videos. "Sister Vivian, I'm 8 months pregnant and about to give birth, but Jason can't leave me. Don't deceive yourself, he doesn't love you at all." In the video, she leaned on Jason's chest, worriedly asking, "You've been with me for so long, isn't Sister Vivian still waiting for you at the hospital?" Jason said nonchalantly, "If she can't find me, she'll go home by herself. Later, I'll explain that there was an urgent matter at the company, and she'll understand. She values this company more than I do. After all, it was founded with her parents' compensation money." I couldn't help but hang up the phone, gripping it tightly, my knuckles turning white. So he still remembers the initial capital for founding the company. How dare he be so self-righteous? Coming back to my senses, I silently saved the video while looking at the screen. I checked Lena's previous posts and realized they had been together for a year. I hired a professional editor online to compile these materials into a video. After doing this, the once dazzling fire had turned into charcoal. I cleaned up the remains, and suddenly Jason's shoes appeared in front of me. He glanced at the yard, his gaze toward me filled with panic. "Honey, why did you burn all the things? These were all gifts I prepared for you with all my heart." I recalled the same gifts Lena had shown in her posts and sneered inwardly, "With all your heart, you could still split it in half." I said coldly, "I don't like them anymore. Can't I burn them?" Seeing that I was truly angry, he quickly coaxed me, "Are you mad because I didn't pick you up this afternoon?" After I took Lena for her prenatal checkup, I received an urgent call from the company and left in a hurry. "It was my fault, I forgot to tell you." Then he comforted himself, "It's good that these things are burned, I'll buy you more expensive and better ones." I glanced at him helplessly, "Whatever." I turned back to the house, and Jason followed me closely, looking pitiful like a lost puppy. In the past, when I was angry, he would follow me like this, and I could never resist his gaze, not bearing to continue arguing with him. But now, I will never forgive him. For the next 2 days, Jason stayed by my side, not even going to the company. On the other side, Lena couldn't hold back and frequently sent me pictures of them together, with messages, "No matter how you restrain him, he will always come to me. You can control his body but not his heart." She also sent me her chat records with my mother-in-law, "Lena, just stay in the villa and wait for the birth. You will get everything you deserve." If you give birth to a son, I will immediately have Jason divorce Vivian and give you the status you deserve. Looking at these words, my heart was numb. The next day, when I went out, Jason shamelessly followed me. Seeing me go to the flower shop, he relaxed, thinking I had finally calmed down, and quickly picked some red roses. But when he turned around, he saw me handing a bunch of white chrysanthemums to the clerk to pack. He looked at me worriedly for a few seconds. "Honey, are you going to see your parents?" "I miss them." My voice revealed a hint of vulnerability. Jason suddenly felt that things had escalated, his expression becoming complex. "It's been a long time since I've seen them, I'll go with you." On the way to the cemetery, he talked about our past love stories, and seeing my cold face soften slightly, he relaxed. At the entrance of the cemetery, Jason received a call, his expression tense, his eyes unable to hide his anxiety. "Honey, there's a major issue with the company's business, I have to go immediately." Lena sent me a message, "Sister Vivian, I'm in premature labor. As long as I need him, you will definitely be left behind." I understood and let him go. Before leaving, Jason promised me that he would make it up to me on our 7th wedding anniversary in a week. I nodded perfunctorily, silently responding in my heart, "I will also give you a big surprise." I entered the cemetery alone and talked to my parents at their graves. "Mom and Dad, I'm here to see you. I'm going to divorce Jason. He betrayed me, and I don't want him anymore. Don't worry about me, I will live happily with your share." It wasn't until dusk that I left the cemetery. During the following week, Jason didn't come home. He texted me saying he was on a business trip for a week due to company matters. But I knew he was at the hospital accompanying Lena during her delivery. I wasn't idle either. I sent the divorce agreement with the property division and the company's official seal to the lawyer and entrusted him to handle the equity transfer and property division at the company. I cleared out all the clothes and jewelry he bought for me from the bedroom, dismissed the housekeeper and introduced her to a new job, and smoothly sold the shares and assets under my name. In less than 3 days, the house became empty. The day before the anniversary, the staff from the luxury clothing store delivered many clothes and jewelry to the house, including some maternity wear. The staff looked at my flat belly with confusion. "Aren't you pregnant?" "But the address and order are correct." I calmly replied, "They will be useful in the future," and had them put everything in the closet. The brand new clothes filled my wardrobe, while the things that once carried my scent were gone. Jason sent me a message after a long time. "Honey, did you receive the clothes? They are all the latest styles. I'll be back from my trip tomorrow. Come directly to the Houting Hotel at 6 in the evening, I prepared a big gift for our anniversary." I didn't reply. The next day, when I arrived at the venue, I found that Jason had booked the entire hotel. A red carpet stretched from the entrance to the second-floor hall, and everywhere I looked, there were rose petals, my favorite. Pushing open the hall door, symphony music played, and the star lamps hanging from the ceiling shone brightly. But the large words on the screen stunned me: "Adoption ceremony of Jason and Vivian's daughter Alma." The guests in the hall applauded and welcomed me, praising, "You and your husband are truly kind-hearted, not only adopting a sick child but also setting up a foundation. Your actions not only illuminate the child's future but also warm everyone's heart. It's rare to see such selfless love in today's society. Yes, after succeeding in business, you give back to society and put charity into practice. Just for your selflessness and purity, I will prioritize your company's products in the future. Especially Vivian, who even agreed not to have her own children, she's too kind." Jason's brother Anthony even led the teasing, "Are they angels reincarnated?" Surprisingly, no one questioned it. The applause and praise continued, and they automatically made way for me, pushing me onto the stage. When I stepped onto the stage, I saw Jason helping the frail Lena up the stage from the other side. Lena looked pale, obviously just out of bed, holding a newborn baby in her arms. Below the stage, Jason's mother smiled at the two, as if they were about to tie the knot. After Jason helped Lena sit down, the star lights in the hall suddenly went out, and a spotlight shone on them. Jason picked up the microphone and spoke emotionally. "Today, my wife and I are here to adopt this child, and we are infinitely grateful. Thank you, the child's mother Lena, for giving us this opportunity, and thank you all for witnessing. Adoption, for us, is not just a legal decision but a connection with life. After adoption, my wife and I will use all our love and care to nurture this new family member. We will help her recover, teach her to grow, and let her walk towards a happier tomorrow with our company. We will also take this opportunity to establish a charity foundation to help more children overcome illnesses and find their happiness. The audience erupted in applause, moved by Jason's speech, and many expressed their willingness to contribute. Jason walked over to take my hand, his wrist unusually thin. A flash of something unusual crossed his eyes, and he whispered proudly in my ear, "Honey, how do you like this surprise?" I looked at the man in front of me, feeling only hypocrisy, and gave no reaction. Seeing me approach, Lena quickly knelt down with the child. "Sister Vivian, thank you for adopting my child. She was born with a serious illness, thank you for taking care of her and giving her a new life." Jason quickly helped her up and held her in his arms to comfort her, as if they were the real family. The audience looked on with relief. The notary handed me the agreement, but I stared at the pen for a long time without moving. If we adopt this child, what about Lena? Jason didn't expect me to ask this, and his gaze toward me became complicated. Instead, my mother-in-law below the stage explained, "She is the child's biological mother, after all, there will be contact in the future. You are so magnanimous, you won't prevent them from seeing each other, right? Or let Lena move into the house, so the baby can have two mothers' love. You won't have to work so hard, especially since the child is sick." I frowned. How could she say such things with such confidence? Jason thought I was worried that the child wouldn't be close to me and whispered in my ear, "Honey, adopting this child is mainly to ease your pressure of preparing for pregnancy. No matter how the child treats you in the future, you will always be the first in my heart." Looking at his considerate appearance, I laughed absurdly and picked up the pen. He smiled, his eyes full of pride, his body swaying with the music. After signing, I placed the agreement in the certificate cover and handed it to the notary, who directly placed the certificate under the projector. When he opened the cover to read, he froze, and gasps came from the audience. "Vivian, did you take the wrong agreement? It's this one, read it." Jason frowned and looked at the screen, only to see the words "divorce agreement" in large letters. Jason's eyes widened in disbelief. He looked at his familiar signature on the yellowed divorce agreement and took a few seconds to recall our agreement when we first got married. "Jason, if either of us changes heart, we divorce decisively, no entanglement." "Okay, but Vivian, I will spoil you to the sky and never let you have the thought of signing it." At that time, we each gave each other a signed divorce agreement. Our married life became even more affectionate. But now, the past love has become a ticket to separation. Jason came back to his senses, his voice louder. "Just because of adopting a child, you want to divorce me?" I sneered. "Otherwise, should I wait for you to bring your illegitimate daughter home?" The audience exploded, everyone whispering in disbelief, "How could this child be an illegitimate daughter? They are so loving." "No way, as far as I know, Jason is completely devoted to Vivian, how could he be with his assistant?" No wonder Vivian looked unhappy since she entered. Jason panicked, not expecting me to know about his infidelity, but he still denied it. "Don't talk nonsense, this child is not my illegitimate daughter. If you don't want to adopt, we can discuss it, why slander me with such reasons?" Listening to his accusations, I smiled bitterly. Even after being exposed, he still pretended. I connected my phone to the screen via Bluetooth and uploaded the video compiled by the editor. The screen was filled with gifts he gave to Lena, her moved tears, their embraces and kisses, and their intimate moments in the office, villa, and car. The audience was stunned. They didn't expect Jason, who always portrayed himself as a loving husband, to be so wild and private, even with his pregnant assistant. In a rage, Jason smashed the display with his phone. He yelled at me, "I did all this for you. This child is adopted for you, this occasion is set up for you, even the city's blessings and fireworks are for you, why don't you appreciate it?" As he spoke, his voice carried a hint of grievance. "As for me and Lena, it was just a drunken mistake. My subsequent actions were only to coax her into giving birth. From beginning to end, I have only loved you." I felt nauseous and coldly tore off his disguise. "In this year, how many times have you used work as an excuse to go to her? That's how many times you've betrayed me. Don't use love as an excuse, you no longer have me in your heart." Jason was still stubborn, claiming he only loved me, but his eyes were fixed on the divorce agreement. Seeing this, I quickly took back the agreement. Seeing my firm attitude, his expression suddenly turned painful. "Is our 7 years of relationship a joke to you? I firmly disagree with the divorce. This divorce agreement was written as a joke back then, it doesn't count." I didn't want to entangle with him anymore and directly took out the share transfer document stamped with the company's seal. "The property has been divided equally. In 2 weeks, go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register the divorce, or I will apply for court enforcement." Jason didn't expect me to have done so much. After hesitating for a few seconds, he took a deep breath, as if making a major decision. He took out a medical report from 2 years ago, which clearly stated, "The patient has a uterine malformation and is unlikely to conceive." I was stunned, unable to believe it. "How is that possible?" He walked over, holding my shoulders, looking straight at me. "Honey, trust me, everything I did was for your own good. Except for Lena's pregnancy, I have never lied to you. I am your only family in this world, I won't harm you." I looked into his eyes, unable to tell if he was telling the truth. Just as the atmosphere between us eased, Lena's scream attracted everyone's attention. "Jason, come quickly, the child isn't breathing." Lena was on the verge of tears, sliding to the ground. Jason rushed over to take the child and carefully checked her condition. Jason's mother also anxiously went on stage, supporting Lena, her eyes darting between Lena and the child. A few seconds later, as Jason carried the child off the stage, he looked back at me with a warning. "We'll discuss the adoption later, anyway, I won't agree to the divorce." Then, he coldly glanced at the audience. "Please understand, regarding my family matters, I don't want to hear any rumors outside, or my company's legal department won't sit idle." After Jason left, the crowd dispersed. Everyone was shocked by the revelation, but no one mentioned it after leaving, as no one wanted to offend the Jiang family. However, before Jason's warning, someone had already anonymously uploaded the video online, even more detailed than what I had collected, causing a huge uproar. After everyone left, Jason's mother and Lena didn't leave, they approached me. Lena's weak and aggrieved voice came first. "Sister Vivian, I've already given birth to Jason's child, I won't marry anyone else but him. Since you've divorced him, don't entangle him anymore." My mind was full of Jason's medical report, and I had no time for them. Seeing no reaction from me, my mother-in-law scolded harshly. "Vivian, our Jiang family has been kind enough to you. Even though you can't have children, Jason pampered you and let you enjoy 7 years of being a rich wife, you should be content. Now that you've signed the divorce agreement, stay away from us and don't think about clinging to him." "So, everyone knows I can't have children?" I suddenly remembered my previous gynecological checkup and stepped away to confirm the results. But they blocked my way. "You can't leave without explaining." I suppressed the urge to hit them, took a deep breath, and said, "Why should I explain to you? Can't you see that Jason is the one clinging to me? Don't bother me, whether I can have children or not, I won't remarry him." Something in Lena's pocket was flashing red, probably recording, but I didn't care anymore. When I went to the hospital to get the medical report, I was nervous, worried that I really had some hidden illness. After getting the report, I breathed a sigh of relief. It clearly stated, "Uterus is healthy, suitable for pregnancy." But what about the report in Jason's hand? Did he fake it to deceive me? With doubts, I printed out all my medical reports from previous years. None of them showed uterine malformation. I was extremely disappointed in Jason. Just as I thought of him, I saw Jason coming out of the children's ward. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, full of emotion, thinking I had regretted the divorce and came to apologize. I coldly said, "Jason, you actually faked a report to deceive me," shattering all his illusions. His smile froze, and he took out the medical report he carried with him. carefully checking the information. After confirming, Jason still wanted to argue with me. I threw all the medical reports from previous years at him. Stop pretending. To cover up your betrayal, you found such an excuse. Jason, you really disgust me. He explained repeatedly, I really didn't lie to you. Back then, I was busy with work, and Anthony personally got it. He is always meticulous, there couldn't be a mistake. He also told me not to let you know, saying that if you, who have lost your parents, found out you couldn't have children, you would collapse. I sneered, Anthony is your brother, of course, he would side with you. After thinking for a few seconds, Jason firmly promised me, I will investigate this matter thoroughly and give you an explanation. But I didn't care at all. I didn't want to listen to his nonsense and directly stopped him, Jason, let it go. After the 2-week cooling-off period, go directly to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register the divorce, or I will apply for court enforcement. His face showed pain, but I no longer believed him. At that moment, my phone rang suddenly. Jason's current assistant called me, Madam, is Jason with you? There's a big problem at the company, and I can't find him. I calmly replied, he is, but don't call me Madam anymore. I looked at Jason, ignoring the reluctance and helplessness in his eyes, and put the call on speaker. Jason, there are many videos of you cheating online. Although the faces are blurred, due to your fame and your image as a loving husband, many features of the man in the video resemble you, causing a huge uproar online. Jason's brows furrowed tighter, his tone anxious. What's the situation at the company now? The company's stock price has hit the limit down, 60% of partners demand to terminate contracts, and shareholders are preparing to hold an emergency meeting to remove you from the presidency. The situation was very tricky. After thinking for a few seconds, he instructed, first, remove all the videos and hot words online, issue a statement saying the images are AI synthesized, control the public opinion, and also release a lawyer's letter to intimidate those accounts spreading rumors. Have someone stabilize the partners, I'll be back soon. After hanging up, Jason looked at me coldly, his tone full of disappointment. Did you upload the video online? This company is also yours, how could you bear to ruin it? Looking at him, I found it absurd. You think I did it? What good does it do me if the company suffers? He directly accused me with a dark face, if not you, who else? You even played it at the hotel, why not upload it online? You're just bitter and vengeful. I sneered, so you're not pretending anymore. He shook his head helplessly, avoiding the topic. I won't argue with you about this, I'll go back to the company to handle it first. After Jason left, I carefully browsed the online public opinion. Jason cheating, Jason adopting illegitimate daughter, and other keywords exploded on the hot search list, with discussions soaring. Looking at the richer materials online, I fell into thought. Evidence of this level could only be found by the parties involved. There must be something fishy behind this wave of public opinion. While I was thinking, I caught a glimpse of Lena looking around sneakily before entering the children's ward. What is she doing sneaking around her own child? I hid in the stairwell to observe secretly. 5 minutes later, Jason's childhood friend Anthony also sneakily entered the children's ward. When I approached, I unexpectedly saw them embracing tightly in the ward. I quickly took out my phone to record. When Anthony wanted to go further, Lena stopped him. Jason might come back anytime, this isn't good. To my surprise, Anthony laughed arrogantly. I released all the materials, now he's busy with the company and won't have time for us. Lena asked anxiously, what about my face in the video? He caressed Lena's face, don't worry, I blurred it heavily, no one will recognize you. Lena relaxed and nestled in Anthony's arms, casually asking, Anthony, why is it different from the plan? I don't need to marry Jason anymore? Anthony's mouth curled up, no need for the original plan, heaven helps me. That silly woman Vivian threw out all her shares, and I took them all. When the shareholders' meeting is held, the whole company will be ours. I was shocked outside the door, covering my mouth, not daring to make a sound. After recording the video, I quickly left. I called Jason more than a dozen times, but he didn't answer, then I remembered his phone was broken. I immediately took a taxi to the company to tell him the truth, but I was stopped by security at the entrance. "Miss Vivian, you are suspected of damaging Jason's reputation. The company has forbidden you from entering." I damage his reputation? Before I could react, my phone vibrated wildly. Countless messages flooded in. A glance showed they were all vile insults. All my platform accounts were overrun, and even the comment sections under previous posts were filled with curses. She can't have children, and Jason did everything for her, yet she fantasized about Jason cheating and secretly recorded their intimate videos, AIING the woman into someone else. Such a scheming woman deserves not to have children. I used to ship this couple, now I just hope they divorce soon. Jason is so pitiful to have such a bad woman. Ugliness can be fixed, but a bad heart can't. I suggest Jason check the couple's joint property quickly, don't get cheated. I was confused, are they talking about me? I opened the Jian Group's official account and saw the latest statement. Vivian accidentally released a prank video. The team is handling it as soon as possible. Major news platforms forwarded it with sensational headlines. Vivian releases private video, intending to control Jian Group's president? Vivian can't have children, hates out of love, destroys her husband? Jian couple's video scandal, Vivian's hidden business war? The glaring words on the screen turned into sharp blades, cutting my heart continuously. My fingers trembled as I scrolled down, my heart growing colder. To protect his image, Jason pushed me out to take the blame without any investigation, letting the public opinion tear me apart. I laughed mockingly, the laughter filled with self-deprecation and sorrow. Even if he reversed the public opinion, what about it? He couldn't solve the equity issue. Once the shareholders' meeting was held, he would be powerless. After all, this company was the fruit of our years of hard work. I took a deep breath, endured the pain of being betrayed, and called his current assistant. The phone rang 3 times, but the assistant didn't answer. Then I received a text message, "Miss Vivian, Jason is busy now and can't take your call." Regarding the online public opinion, Jason said it's just a temporary measure for public relations, don't take it to heart. Also, he asks you to stay at home recently, don't go out, and don't go online. Don't take it to heart? Is this something I can control? One last time, I swear this is the last chance I give him. I dialed the assistant's number, but only the cold mechanical voice answered, "The number you dialed is temporarily unavailable, please try again later." I shook my head helplessly, having done my best, and directly blocked Jason and his assistant's numbers. A few seconds after the operation, hot news popped up again, Jason and Vivian's marriage change. According to reliable sources, the two have divorced. The accompanying picture was the divorce agreement I had signed and given to him. The online condemnation against me intensified, and some even cursed my parents. I couldn't bear it anymore and immediately contacted a lawyer to prepare a detailed statement and warned those malicious accounts. On the other hand, I hired internet trolls to present evidence, releasing my medical report and solid proof of Jason's infidelity. But the public opinion had completely sided with Jason. No matter what evidence I presented, the public thought I was faking it. Let them be. I sent the video evidence I captured to Jason's broken phone, whether he sees it or not, I don't care. But I couldn't bear to see the company being taken over by Anthony. It was the crystallization of my years of hard work. So, I gritted my teeth and spent a lot of money to acquire retail shares in the stock market, trying to gradually dismantle his plan. As for Jason, I never want to see him again in this life. During this time, the domestic cyberbullying far exceeded my imagination. My address and phone number were all exposed, even if I didn't go out or go online, harassing calls and letters kept coming, seriously affecting my life. To escape all this, I decided to go abroad for temporary peace. Before boarding the plane, I received a message from an unknown number. "Honey, I received the recording from Lena. In the recording, you are determined to divorce me." The company matters came too fast. To protect the company, I impulsively chose the most radical way, pushing you out. I know this hurt you, I'm truly sorry. Honey, after this storm passes, I will do everything to clear your name and restore your reputation. Can you forgive me? Looking at the screen, I only felt a cold laugh in my heart. Jason's hypocrisy made me feel sick. I unhesitatingly blocked that number, along with that false emotion, throwing it all behind me. After going abroad, before I could enjoy a few days of peace, I checked online and saw that the public opinion had exploded again. But this time, the private messages were no longer curses but apologies and regrets. Miss Vivian, I was wrong to unfollow and step on you before, causing you to bear severe public opinion pressure. I sincerely apologize to you. Sorry, I misjudged you before. I didn't expect the truth to be like this. First, I apologize to Vivian, and second, that scumbag Jason should apologize to me. I clicked on the news. Jiang Group shareholders meeting convened. Jason was dismissed for chaotic private life. This news quickly fermented online, completely clearing my name from the previous video incident. The evidence I had previously released about Jason's misconduct all became viral. Netizens forwarded and commented, even proving through details in the video, like watches, diamond rings, clothing, that the woman in the video wasn't me, and some even confirmed that the video had no AI traces and restored Jason's face in the video. In an instant, the target of cyberbullying shifted from me to Jason. Those who had previously insulted me now turned their spears on him, with even more unbearable words. I heard more inside information from a company acquaintance. To stabilize partners, Jason worked overtime at the company for 2 weeks, almost without rest. However, all these efforts were in vain on the day of the shareholders' meeting. Anthony grandly attended the shareholders' meeting. He had my shares plus some retail shares, enough to make him the largest shareholder of the company. At the meeting, he mercilessly presented evidence of Jason's chaotic private life. Dear shareholders, Jason's personal behavior has caused serious losses to the company. Although some have been salvaged through public relations, his existence is a time bomb for Jiang Group. He is not suitable to continue as president. The board members saw the irrefutable evidence in Anthony's hands and decisively abandoned Jason. After Jason stepped down, online public opinion was one-sided, with almost no one willing to speak for him. His image completely collapsed in the public eye, and those who once flattered him now avoided him. Jason returned home dejectedly, only to find that the once warm and loving house had become empty, with a layer of dust on the table from lack of cleaning, and only a lonely phone package on it. He tried to contact me with a temporary phone, but couldn't get through. He called the former housekeeper with the landline to ask about my whereabouts. The housekeeper didn't answer directly but talked about previous events. The night the star lamp broke, after you left in a hurry, Madam followed you. About 3 hours later, she came back soaked and crying. On the day she burned things, she came back from the hospital limping, pale, like she had lost her soul. During the week you didn't come back, Madam cleaned out the things in the house one by one, burning, cutting, or smashing them. She didn't ask for my help, she said she had to solve her own problems. That week, Madam lost 5 pounds. If you don't love her, let her go. After hearing this, Jason cried bitterly. He didn't know that his actions had been exposed long ago, causing me severe harm. He walked into the bedroom, trying to find something of mine. But all he saw was the dull house decorations, with no trace of my existence, not even the scent on the bed. He entered the closet and found it full of new clothes, including some maternity wear. But these styles and sizes were clearly what he bought for Lena. Jason frowned, went downstairs to turn on the repaired old phone, and wanted to call Lena. After turning it on, he saw the video I sent him of Lena and Anthony. He was furious and rushed to the hospital to confront Lena, only to see Anthony and Lena being intimate in the ward. Jason pushed the door open. You two are bold to collude behind my back. Anthony, interrupted, was displeased. I thought who it was. Turns out it's the president kicked out by Jiang Group. Anthony, what's with your sarcasm? Betraying your brother and stealing my woman, are you proud? Anthony sneered. When did you ever treat me as a brother? All these years, you've been bossing me around. Where was the respect? Besides, your woman? Where do you have a woman? Vivian was driven away by you, and Lena has always been mine. Jason glared at Lena, hoping to see some denial in her expression, but Lena just snuggled obediently in Anthony's arms. Jason, Did you really think I liked you? If it weren't for Antony's plan, how could I be interested in you? You're so hypocritical and selfish. I don't know how Vivian tolerated you for so many years. Jason couldn't believe it. I'm selfish? I provided you with a house and satisfied all your material needs. Isn't that enough? Lena said indifferently, who cares about your house? Besides, for the sake of the child in my belly, shouldn't you give me these? Jason clenched his fists, glaring at them fiercely. Antony was unfazed, holding Lena behind him. What, want to hit someone? Think clearly about the cost of assaulting the president of Jiang Group. You're really brainless, no wonder a fake medical report made you abandon your wife. What deep affection are you pretending? Jason reacted for a few seconds, his face dark, and said word by word, you faked the medical report and tricked me into touching Lena. Antony chuckled, how can that be called tricking? I just voiced your inner thoughts in advance. Then, Antony casually picked up the child from the bed. By the way, I forgot to tell you, the day you and Lena got drunk, she was already a month pregnant with my child. Jason froze, his lips trembling, unable to believe what he heard. The daughter isn't his. This sentence kept playing in his mind, like an invisible hammer pounding his heart, making him almost suffocate from pain. He always thought he was the happiest man in the world, with a gentle wife, someone outside holding him dear, eagerly bearing his children, a successful career, and assets at home. But now he realized it was all a scam, and he had lost his original family and hurt the person he loved most. He punched his chest hard, trying to suppress the pain, but it was futile. The overwhelming regret and guilt tightly wrapped around him, making it hard to breathe. Jason stumbled out, leaning on the wall. At the hospital entrance, looking at the passing crowd, he seemed to see my limping figure returning home. He broke down and cried, feeling lost. It wasn't until heavy rain poured down that he came to his senses. Jason drove home and called me more than a dozen times, only to realize I had already blocked him. He drove straight to the housekeeper's residence, tearfully apologizing, I'm sorry for Vivian, I really know I was wrong. Please tell me where she is, I just want to apologize to her in person. He pestered the housekeeper for 3 hours until she helplessly told him my address abroad. 3 days later, Jason appeared before me, looking exhausted and haggard, as if he had aged 10 years. But his gaze was firm, his eyes shining with sincerity and remorse. After experiencing cyberbullying and betrayal, he seemed to empathize with me. Jason cried bitterly in front of me, full of regret, honey, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I don't expect you to forgive me, but give me a chance to make it up, okay? I could feel his sincerity, but the past is gone, and I didn't want to touch it. Leave. I turned and left, my heart calm. Jason's hand dropped weakly, not daring to make any retention. For the next few days, Jason kept appearing around me, like an abandoned puppy. I ignored him. Until the 7th day, I couldn't bear it anymore. Are you so hopeless, following me here? What about the company? Don't you care? Jason said helplessly, now, you are more important than the company. Is it me who's more important, or do you lack the ability to reclaim the company now? I said coldly to him, Jason, it's over between us, but the company isn't. Now, both our reputations have been tarnished by Antony. He drove us away and happily took over our labor fruits. Are you willing? Jason sighed, full of self-mockery, easier said than done. I shook my head, staying rational. Jason, first, I apologize to you. I threw out my shares too easily, giving Antony an opportunity. Recently, I've been acquiring retail shares. When the time is right, with your shares, we have a chance to return to the board. After hearing this, a glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes. In the following year, I didn't see Jason again. Instead, news about Jiang Group kept coming from home. Under Antony's leadership, Jiang Group's performance declined, shareholders sold their shares, giving me an opportunity. In the spring of the next year, I suddenly received a message from Jason, the time is ripe, come back to pick the fruits. With our cooperation, we successfully convened the Jiang Group board meeting, listing Antony's misdeeds and negligence over the past year, and drove him out of the company. Moreover, during the audit, we found that Anthony had been embezzling public funds, causing serious financial deficits. With solid evidence, we sent Anthony to jail without hesitation and recovered the embezzled funds one by one. As for Lena, she pitifully held her 1-year-old child, begging me for a way out. But this was what she deserved. Neither Jason nor I paid attention to her pleas. A month later, I dragged Jason to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register the divorce, officially ending this scarred marriage. To my surprise, Jason transferred all his shares to my name and chose to leave with nothing. "You don't have to do this," Jason said frankly. "This is the result you brought me, I'm just returning it to its rightful owner." We posted our divorce certificate online. Jason expressed his remorse and determination to start anew. I simply described my emotional changes over the past year. Netizens left messages supporting me. "He deserves it, sister, be beautiful alone." At least the ex-husband still has some humanity and considered a lot for sister. "The past is prologue, sister, be happy in the future." These words were like a warm current, warming my heart. No matter how many storms lie ahead, I will always bask in the sunshine.